Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is recommending big cuts to the 2015 defense budget. The billions of dollars worth of cuts would include shrinking the Army to its smallest size since 1940. The Army is already scheduled to reduce active duty members down to 490,000. That number had reached 570,000 during the height of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. But the new proposed cuts would shrink the ranks further to between 440 to 450,000. The chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee warned the cuts would hurt military readiness. And Lou Celli is the legislative director of the American Legion. He joins us now from Washington with more. Lou, we know there is a need for a more balanced budget. Is cutting troop numbers the best way to go about it?
The American Legion doesn't believe so, Mark. And we've seen this time and time again where the Department of Defense tries to reduce its end number strengths. And what that ends up doing, as we can see in most recent history, is causing the soldiers that are in uniform to have to do repeat deployments, which ultimately raises the risk of PTSD and further injuries to our veterans. So these repeat deployments and this added responsibility taken on by the reserve forces is really depleting our efforts, and it's a show of weakness.
Do you think Congress will agree to Hagel's proposed cuts?
You know, in an election year, I don't have a lot of hope for that. You know, because combined within the reduced end strength that Hagel is looking for, he's also talking about some across-the-board reduction in locations and posts. So if you have lawmakers that are going to be fighting for their districts and making sure that you still have what we'll call BRAC, if you still have posts in their districts, they're going to need soldiers to man them.
How was America's military viewed around the world, would you say, and will military cuts hurt that view?
You know, I think military cuts are always going to be perceived as a weakness by the folks that we call enemies. Terrorists are going to look at reduction in military force as a win for them and a possible opportunity to gain the upper hand. So the American Legion has always believed in a strong national defense.
Hagel says the military needs to modernize. What are some ways America can stay ahead from a military standpoint, would you say?
Well, all of the modernization in the world and the best equipment in the world needs to be manned. We have to have soldiers to man them. So maintaining a high level of soldier support, maintaining well-equipped soldiers, maintaining soldiers who are constantly trained and who are ready for the battlefield, that's going to be our strongest defense.
Okay. Lou Celli of the American Legion, thanks so much for your insight, sir.
Thank you, Mark.